All right. And we are live it's for this special edition of Throwdown Thursday / Shark Bites / Let's talk to some indie horror folks. And I am joined, if you saw our broadcast a couple of weeks ago, you will be familiar with this young lady. I am joined by Jess Snyder. Jess, how are you today?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for jumping on with me, and we're going to talk some horror.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk horror. We're going to talk some nerd stuff. We're going to talk some stuff about you.
Yes.
You do a lot of stuff. You have a lot of things that you want to talk about because you are much more than just a horror actress and a nerd. Like, you've got a lot of stuff that you do. So
I do.
What would you like to discuss first?
Oh gosh, the first topic's always the hard one. What do I talk about first? Because I have a lot of things to talk about. Well, first up, I guess we can talk about spooky season because spooky season's coming up.
Oh, yes. Yes. It's what, like 90 days to Halloween?
90 days, or give or take.
Yeah, ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have my abacus out. I can't count real quick. So what is your favorite Halloween activity? Like, what's your one thing that you like to do every Halloween and you do it without fail?
It's always just getting to dress up. Always getting to dress up. I did it for, of course I did it as a kid. I did it into adulthood. I loved passing out the candies to the other kids growing up. And now I'm a haunt actress. I work at a dark attraction park. So
what was your favorite candy to get as a kid?
Snickers.
Just the regular, like, obviously the full bars, not the fun size.
Not the little tiny fun size. No. I like the regular full size bars.
Yeah, you got to go full size. If you're going candy, like, there were a couple of houses that we would go to, like, we knew which neighborhood to go to that was going to give out the full size bar.
Every time.
It was the big two. It was Butterfinger and Baby Ruth in that order.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what we always went for, because that's back when Bart Simpson was the spokesperson for.
Yes, I remember those days.
What was that?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I hope that wasn't me. I don't think it was me. I don't know. This is a new mixer. I don't know. Maybe I'm picking up some sort of interference from a leaf blower or something. I don't know. But all right. Did you have a favorite costume that you had growing up? Was it like, a store-bought one, or one that you made yourself, or was there a specific character?
I always liked playing witches or vampires. So if my mom made a costume, or if we bought it, or growing up, into adulthood, if I bought like a sexy vampire or whatever, stereotypical slutty sexy vampire.
Reminds me of the Jim Gaffigan routine where he talks about going trick-or-treating and his neighbors hate it, and not just because he makes a sexy cat woman. I don't know. I remember one year my brother and I, he's a couple years younger than me, we were Batman and Robin, and my mom had bought like the pajamas with the cape.
Oh yeah.
And they weren't like super warm, so we layered like thermal underwear underneath, but she only had one mask, and it was like the Robin domino mask. And like, we were arguing over who was going to get it, and I ended up getting it. And she's like, well, Batman is more important. Like, there's like 12 Robins. I mean, he didn't say that, but Batman's the main guy, and we knew that.
Right.
So when did you have you started making your own costumes, like, now that you've become an adult and like you want to kind of branch out into different?
I kind of do. I do at least distress my own costumes. So I like going thrifting and stuff like that. And you can turn anything into a costume. You can zombify or mummify or decay anything. And there's all kinds of little tips and tricks out there with acrylic paints and coffee or tea and all kinds of fun stuff you can do.
Yeah, because you mentioned that a little bit when we talked a couple of weeks ago. When we were talking about the fake blood.
Yes.
You were talking about like, making, there were different types of fake blood. So tell us a little bit about that, because I know that's something that you're like an expert on.
There are multiple types of ways that you can either make your own or you can buy pre-made blood. Some brands you want to stay away from because they stain, and unless you're looking at something like perma blood, which goes on props and costuming, that is always going to always remain in a bloody, gory look. And then there's prop and stage blood that you can get from Spirit Halloween, Walmart, any of those that you can get like the little bottles of, and you can use that. I personally don't like those brands myself. I'm just not a fan of them. So I go through a different company and I get it directly through them. And then you can also make your own blood, and you can make edible blood. Usually it's some sort of thing that consists of corn syrup, strawberry syrup, red food coloring, chocolate syrup, strawberry gel mix for cakes and cheesecakes and things like that. And there's all kinds of different recipes out there that you can find.
In your expert medical opinion, what film has captured fake blood the best for you?
Psycho.
Psycho? Okay.
Always Psycho. That Hershey blood down the drain. Can't go wrong.
Especially black and white.
Especially black and white.
You get a lot more leeway with your medium there.
Yep, absolutely.
This is obviously a question that you've thought about before, because like you did not hesitate like a tenth of a second.
You've got to pay homage to Psycho. It's a classic.
So, other than just dressing up, is there a specific like tradition that you have that you do on Halloween? Like Ashes and I, we like to go. There's a little. Well, not little, but there's a zoo, Roger Williams Zoo in, I want to say it's Providence or just outside of Providence, Rhode Island. We drive down there because her birthday's in the middle of October, or Ashtober.
Mm-hmm.
We go down there. They have all these thousands and thousands of carved pumpkins, and there's different themes, and people paint them and carve them, depending on whatever the theme is. And we go through there, and then on Halloween itself, we always watch movies, but we always watch Trick or Treat because she loves Sam. And if people are looking, let me see if I can. I have a nice. I always do that. I forget which hand is which. This nice art print made by our very talented friend Alex Hoy, that he gave to us and signed, because he's just awesome. Does a lot of horror stuff. So if you're not familiar with him, look him up. Alex Hoy. Oh shit, art, I believe. Oh, I feel bad not knowing that exactly off the top. But just search Alex Hoey, Hoey, and you'll find some of his stuff. He recently did to plug something he did. He did a design of Victor Crowley that Adam Green used to put on some T-shirts and sweatshirts, and folks have been rocking those lately. It's a really cool design. So if you're looking for a way to support him and represent, talking about fake blood, a character that's gone through a lot of it. So yeah, to get back to the question, what are your Halloween traditions other than dressing up and handing out candy?
For me, the past 5 years, I haven't been able to celebrate traditionally. I still have my movie marathons throughout the entire month of October, of course, preparing myself. But for the past 5 years, I've been a haunt actor. So I've been working, scaring people to death for Halloween.
I would.
So that's my new tradition.
Yeah. So what are your go-to movies? Like, if you starting small and then ramping up, like what would you start with, and what do you put up at the top?
Always start with Nightmare Before Christmas.
Very nice.
Because that's you just have to watch it twice a year, at least. Even though I probably watch it 1,000. Then, of course, I'm going to watch the actual Halloween series. I'm going to watch things like Candyman. I'm going to watch Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, The Exorcist, and Poltergeist.
Okay, that's a solid lineup.
And then any B movie I can find. They're so bad, they're good.
Yeah, no, yeah, I got you there. Do you have like a specific favorite? Like, is there one that you're like, oh my god, I saw this and you have to see it? It's so awesome.
It's there's a Christmas one, and it's not Evil Santa. It's called something else.
Is it the one with Bill Goldberg? Is that the one you're talking about?
I think so, yeah.
It's like Santa's Sleigh or something like that. I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it, but yeah, Bill Goldberg as Santa. Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, we do, obviously one of the ones that I grew up with that was near and dear to me, and I'm going to see if I do this right. Yep. I have The Making of Thriller, which is basically it's a VHS rip onto a DVD, and that's one that my brothers and I used to watch all the time. That was our introduction to horror. Mid 80s. My parents were like, look, you can see what it's really not that scary if you look at
how it's made.
Yeah, it's because there were some gruesome images, like that one guy that gets up and like all the blood drips out of his mouth and down his face. Like, that's some terrifying shit if you're 4 years
old. It is epic. It is great.
But if you're like, oh, this is how they did it, here's how they made Michael turn into the werecat wolf, like this is exactly, and they would juxtapose, if you've never seen it, it's amazing, and they juxtapose both Michael in the finished product and as he's getting the prosthetics on and as they're shooting it, so you can see the prosthetics, you can see it move, then you can see how it gets like all like brought down through movie magic. Like it's so cool, and I think that kind of not desensitized me, because there's some truly epic fucked up stuff that you see in some of these horror films.
Oh, absolutely.
I've got the Scream Factory like special edition of Event Horizon coming in September.
Nice.
And Ashes has never seen it.
Oh man.
So that's one that we will definitely have to add to our rotation.
Nice.
Do you have I know you have, so I'm going to ask you your top 5 horror films.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know that's tough and I'm a dick, but like
Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead tie.
Okay. Yeah, it's not easy.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
You're of course talking about the remake with Jackie Earle Haley.
Exorcist and Candyman.
Okay. I mean, I
love Tony Todd so much.
I met him at a con a few years. It was like 12 years ago. Jesus, I met him at a con, and I was like, man, you are a lot bigger in real life. And he goes, wait till you see me on 24. I play an African dictator. Man, I am fucking larger than life. It was like one of those interactions I will never forget. He was like, he's looking around, he's sitting there, he's like, man, there's not a lot of people here. Where's all the people? Like, I thought this was supposed to be a big con. I'm like, there's a huge Red Sox playoff game right now. Like,
Oops.
everybody will be here tomorrow. Like, trust me. And then, like, he saw me later that day and he was like, yeah. For me, I have to go. I'm going to slightly disagree with you on the Romero series. I think Day of the Dead is the best. I love Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead is good.
I love Bub. He's my favorite zombie. And so I would go Day of the Dead, Trick or Treat. You know what? I'm gonna see, this changes all the time, but I'm looking at the signed DVD case, so I'm gonna go Adam Green's Frozen, which if you haven't seen, I highly recommend.
I have not seen that yet.
Then Jaws and The Thing, and then Hellraiser for my honorable mention. So I got to tell you about Frozen. So this is Kane Hodder's in it. He was the stunt guy, the stunt coordinator, but he also drove one of those snowcats. So Frozen has one of the actors that you might recognize is I can't think of his name, but he played Iceman in the the Fox X-Men movies. And so it's him and like two of his friends, and they're like scamming their way onto a ski lift, like without having to pay. So they go, over and over, and they're going on Mount Holliston, which is the town where he's from, which is like an hour from me in Massachusetts. Actually, if you ever watched his TV show that he did, Holliston, a lot of times they go to this, Cumberland Farms convenience store. I actually worked in that store when I was 18. But they go up on the ski lift over and over, and finally they're like, "Oh, you got to give us one more run." They're like, "No, we're closing down." I'm like, "Come on, man, just one more run." They're like, "All right, fine." So he gives them one more run, and somebody comes over to the guy running the ski lift and says, "Hey, you got boss wants to see you." And he's like, "All right, but there's a couple more people coming down, so don't shut everything down yet." And like 2 minutes later, some people come down, and it's not them, so they shut everything down, and they're suspended 50 feet up. And nobody's coming. Like, this is Sunday night. Nobody's coming back till Friday.
Oh man.
And like that's the movie. And there's like everything that happens afterwards. It's awesome. It's so cool. The poster art is actually the stuntman like hanging from the chairlift. And like it just came out so great that they used that.
They're just like, screw it.
Yeah. Oh, a late horror show and Anthony T's horror show. Sean Ashmore is the actor I'm referring to. Thank you, Anthony T. Just came across you live, or you live. So thank you for joining us this evening. If you have any questions for Jess as we go through the show, please feel free to ask. Make sure you keep it classy, because otherwise I have no patience for that. So, well, we want to make sure people are classy and respectful. I know Anthony will be. Like, I know Anthony. Anthony's a good buddy of mine. Great dude. Huge indie horror fan. He's a big fan of the original Axe to Grind.
Nice.
So he might have some questions for you regarding that. So we've talked a little bit about Halloween and some of your favorite horror movies. So I'm going to ask you one more horror movie question, and then we're going to move on. So the question I have for you is, which film do you think has the better practical effects? The Hellraiser.
Practical.
It's the Hellraiser regeneration scene, or the defibrillator scene from The Thing.
Hellraiser.
That is, yeah, you can't go wrong. There's no wrong answer. So the Late Horror Show asks, what has been your biggest project?
My biggest project? Probably my book cover modeling.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned that last time. You said that's something that you just got into?
I've been modeling for 10 years. But I've been doing small local things mostly. But a couple years ago, I connected with a couple of friends from other states, and we all shot together, and the photo actually went really quickly. An author snagged it up like instantly, and I've just been on the journey since. So it's been 2 or 3 years.
That's super cool. I know you said because it's not out yet, you can't tell us what it is, but I'm sure that once it's more widely available, you will.
Absolutely.
Because that's awesome. That's awesome. Finding a book cover. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but like there's so much that goes into creating the art for a book cover, because that's exactly what they want you to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. All right, so let's kind of switch gears and go into some of the modeling stuff that you've done, because you've done a lot of different things, like the thumbnail that we used for this particular show.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the types that you do. You also do a lot with blood.
Yes.
Tell us about like how you learned that you really enjoyed being covered with blood.
I don't know if that's an appropriate conversation for this thing.
I mean, it's up to you, but I know you do enjoy being covered with blood.
I enjoy it very, very much. I kind of always just wanted to do it, and I never really got a chance to, as far as my modeling goes, for quite a few years. A lot of the locations we would go to would have, stricter rules and things like that, or they would have to have stricter rules because people weren't courteous at all and would make a mess of the place, and then they wouldn't clean up after themselves or whatever. So I was actually hit up by one of my photographers, and he said, I have a great opportunity for you. I have this great location. They do group shoots throughout the year, and I want you to come and we'll shoot, and I have a plan. Okay, great. Absolutely. And so we decided to use a little bit of blood, and I was partnered up with a male, and I just had a blast. They went to start flicking the blood on me to, just kind of messing me up a little bit. And I was like, wow, this is validating. This is just validating for me. It's the weirdest thing.
Well, I mean, if it's, you never know what you're going to like until you try it. And then like, once you try it, you're like, oh my God, like this is the thing I want to do. Like, this is my niche. This is my.
Yes, exactly. Like, this is my thing.
Because the picture, like, you sent a bunch of pictures, and like the one that I used, I use actually for your contact in my phone is the one where you're just absolutely just covered in blood.
Yes.
It's awesome. So it looks like
actually I have a really fun story with that one. I was going to another group shoot by another photographer friend of mine. Great buddy of mine. And I had gone to the same location like 2 years prior, and I had gotten buddy with the property owners. So I was like, hey, do you think that they would mind if we did this? And, kind of just did a bloodbath-esque kind of shoot. And he was like, I don't know. Let's hit up the guy. Because, we had to find out, can we bring a bathtub in? Can we use a field? Can we, get your property messy? And stuff like that. Like I said, a lot of people don't clean up after themselves, or, don't think about it or whatever. So I hit up the guy and he was like, absolutely. I'm like, can we find like a throwaway bathtub? Can we find like someone's bathtub that they just yanked out of their house and are renovating or whatever? And he said, I'm on it. And he found it in like a day.
That's awesome.
And then the rest is history. We ended up with an epic shoot. We thought it was going to be warmer than what it was. I was freezing my butt off.
You look like you were having fun, though.
It was a blast, but it was cold.
We do have a question in the chat from Roka's Life. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. As the Queen of Blood, was there a time in your life that idea would have been a no-go for you?
Actually, no.
I mean, you're a big horror Halloween person, so.
Exactly. I've always enjoyed the gory movies and things like that. Blood and guts and things never really ever disgusted me. So no, I've never been like that kind of a person where, where I switched sides.
So it was more like, when you first did it, you were like, yes, this is what I've been looking
for. This is it. This is the thing.
That makes sense. So have there ever been times when you went to do a modeling shoot? Because I've seen a lot of your stuff, and there's a wide variety of types of shoots that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Has there ever been a time when, so obviously what I'm getting from that is, the people that you were working with, were very conscious of your comfort and, making sure that, you were okay with doing all these different shoots. Has there ever been a time when someone was like, hey, this is what I want to do, and they were like super sketchy about it, and you're just like, go fuck yourself?
All the time, honestly, and all the time for many, many years. But none of them have had to do with any of my blood shoots. Every time that there has been a blood shoot discussed, it has either been happened or there's been a pin put in it and it still is waiting to happen.
Okay.
Like I have 5 gallons of blood sitting in my boss's office at the haunt right now that's waiting for another shoot that's going to happen in like 2 or 3 weeks.
That's awesome. So based on that, so you're in Ohio, which isn't known for its super high temperatures, but it will be late August in a couple of weeks.
Right.
Do you prefer doing a blood shoot when it's overly warm out?
Yes. I learned my lesson after doing. I have been in pleather in winter with open-toed shoes, with a shirtless man, and that was my only form of warmth. Bless his heart. And I have been doused in a whole entire gallon of blood to myself. Nobody else was with me or messy with me. And I have sat in a old tub that was sitting on the cold ground in late fall. And yeah, I froze. But it was so worth it. The pictures turned out so amazing. You suffer for your art.
Yeah. No, I get you there. I just wasn't sure if it was like, like, oh, well, if it's cold, obviously it's cold and, you're wet. But if it's hot, I don't know if like, the heat does anything to the different types of blood that you use. And it's like,
it might dry it faster, which would just give it a older blood, blood has settled and dried kind of look, instead of keeping it necessarily the wet look. But I would still rather do it and be drenched in it if I'm actually going to be completely drenched in it in warmer weather.
See, my thought was maybe that, because of the heat, it would start with an odd smell or something like that might.
Actually, depending on what you're using or what you have on hand, if it's store-bought, there's and to add back to the other conversation that we were having about the different types of blood, there's blood that you can make out of detergents that'll wash right out of your clothing too. That's made out of laundry soap, and you just have to dye it red.
Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, see, this is why you're on, because you're the expert on all things blood, it seems. There's another question from the same person. They're saying, is there anything worse than a blood shoot that is on your bucket list? And I'm not quite sure what they mean by anything worse. Like, if you could give us a little more elaboration on that, Rocka's life. What specifically do you mean? Like, is it like a satanic thing, or like, eating a baby or something? Like,
I promise it doesn't go that far.
well, I mean, maybe the baby's a jerk. Who knows? I was just gonna ask something. Yeah, the smell thing. When I worked for a specific company, and they had they were doing research, and there was a lot of synthetic blood that was made.
Yes.
And I don't think this is the same type of stuff, because this stuff there was a lot of it, and we had to get rid of it, and it smelled horrific. Like, I was wearing a VOG mask, which is, it's got a filter on it. And even that, the stench was overpowering. Oh,
I would assume that was just old spoiled blood.
It was synthetic bovine hemoglobin.
Yeah, that's different. That is incredibly different. And to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't mind working in real blood either. Pulling a carry.
Okay.
I wouldn't actually be against it completely, as long as it was ethically sourced.
Okay. So it depends on whose blood it is.
Like, like it has to come from at least like a butcher or something. Mm-hmm. I have worked with animal parts before, and things like that. I have kissed a pig's head. And one of my shoots, it's not on Facebook because I never got them back, but I have done it. I've had a animal part tea party, and that is on Facebook.
I don't think I saw that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also not like stalking all of your photos because I'm not a weird creeper, but
please creep them.
Okay.
For anyone listening, go to my page and creep them.
The description is in the show notes, so please, all her Facebook information for her modeling page is in the show notes. And so Rocket's life, I think that might answer your question a little bit. They were asking guts, etc., more gore, fake, of course, although you said you wouldn't mind working with real blood.
I've worked with real animal parts, so I mean, the only thing with that is eventually it does start to stink.
Oh yeah, I would imagine so.
But I am not completely turned off by it. Like, it's not completely repulsive to me. I can handle it.
I've just said, well, she answered that. Yeah. So, okay. So I wasn't sure what Rocket's life meant by worse, but we got the answer that we were looking for. So, your ideal shoot. I know we touched on it a little bit. You said you'd like to do like a Bathory shoot.
I would like to redo a Bathory shoot. I've done one, and it came out exactly how it was supposed to, but I have a different idea with some twists that I want to do to change it up and bring it up a notch.
Now, when you do your shoots, is it, like you're just the model, like, or do you have different inputs, or have you ever done a thing where it's like, like the people that direct their own movies, like first thing that comes to mind is A Star Is Born, when Bradley Cooper directed it and starred in it. So
I've done a little bit of all of that. I like to have control, like creative control over most of my work, but I have approached other photographers or other models that I have worked alongside, and I have said, hey, I like your idea here. I'm interested in doing it with you. Let's make it happen.
Oh, you're not. He says he's not a stalker. It's Dave Rocca.
Oh, okay. Hi, Dave.
So my question then would be, is there a situation where you would want to do something where you are the photographer and you're not the model and you're like kind of directing the shoot, or are your ideas just like, I have to be in this?
I have to be in it. It's, yeah.
So I would imagine that might be difficult if you're trying to like both direct it and be the model.
I generally just come up with a general idea, and then I'm like, let's do this, and this is what I have in my head. What do you think? And then, we'll both kind of bounce off of each other.
Have you ever storyboarded out a shoot, or is that something that you do, or?
Kind of sometimes, but not too often. A lot of the times, the concepts that have been discussed are usually fairly simple, so we could plan them out in 20 minutes and do them a month later.
Yeah, because this is something I'm. Nobody wants to take pictures of me, so this is not something with which I am overly familiar, and I have very limited experience working on a film set. So I was just trying to see if there was some kind of like comparison between the two. I guess the only thing would be photography and lining up the shots and the lighting.
Yeah, I mean, there can be, but for mine, that's usually not necessarily the case.
I would guess, like, if you were to do, and if anybody's a photographer, if Jeremy Safford wants to weigh in on this, if there's a multitude of like outfits or locations or different props and things like that, like, okay, this one's going to be in a basement, and now we're going to do one, like outside. Like, would you want to do something like that where it's like, this is going to take a weekend, and we're going to do, you're going to be like this scary character, and we're going to tell a story through photographs?
I would love that. I would jump on it.
That sounds like it would be really cool.
Yeah.
So it'd almost be like not quite a movie, but it's still, you're telling.
It still has a storyline. Yeah.
Yeah. That probably would take longer because you're setting up for like one specific shot that you're trying to get, as opposed to like a specific long motion.
Those are definitely 12 to 16-hour days.
Now, is that typical? Like, what's a typical shoot for you? Say you're not involving all the blood, so you don't have the getting the blood just right, and then the cleanup.
A lot of basic shoots that I have done I can talk to a photographer, like say at a group event, and I can pull a photographer aside and be like, hey, I have this real quick idea, do you have an hour? And then boom, we work for a half an hour and we're done. We don't even need that whole hour, other than maybe I might need to change, or I might need to throw on some makeup.
All right. Um, other than like a bath reshoot, is there like something? And if you have something in the works you don't want to tell us about, that's fine too. Is there something specific that you would like to do? Is there like a theme that you would want to do, or like maybe work with a makeup artist and do a bunch of different looks?
I would like to do more romance work and more erotic work
Okay.
for sure.
So where you say more, obviously you've done some in the past, and I've seen some of those pictures that are up on Facebook that you've posted. There's a lot of like really cool stuff. When was like the blood stuff? When did you realize you're like, I dig this? This is something I want to do.
I was actually 21, 22, and in college, and I had had a lot of issues with being in college and stuff like that. So I dropped out, and I had wanted to model, and I'd wanted to be different, and I wanted to be an advocate for, the disabled community, and I wanted to be a representative and just do things differently. And I said, I want to be an artist. I want to model. Let's try this. And it took me 2 or 3 years of just trying to find somebody to even take my money to be like, hey, I will pay you to help me build my portfolio so I can start to actually get jobs out of that.
That's insane. Like seeing some of the work that you've done, like that's insane that people wouldn't even take your money.
Yeah. I was legitimately laughed at.
Now, when, let's kind of shift gears a little bit to your advocacy work. When did you decide that that was something that you wanted to pursue? Was that around the same time?
No, I've always been very different. Even of like my disabled friends group that I have, I was raised very differently. I have very much a different view than a lot of them were raised to have. And I have a different outlook and a much more bold personality type than a lot of them have. And so for me, it was something of, I need to teach these people how to genuinely live. It's not the end of the world, and things are not miserable. And, there is this stereotypical idea of what disabled people are like. And I give it the middle finger because I'm not like that at all.
So when you decided to become an advocate, like what was the first thing, other than your friends? Oh, Asher's got a question. Before we get into that, if you could collaborate with anyone, any photographer, model, or designer, who would it be? Hi, Ashes. Thank you for watching. I think she just got home.
Donatella Versace.
Not to be confused.
I would work for her in a heartbeat.
She'd be lucky to have you.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm not your stereotypical like supermodel or anything. I'm short, I'm curvy, whatever. But if I could work for Donatella Versace, Donatella Versace, call me.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I've seen some of your work. Your work is, she said, yes, queen. I don't know if you can see the comments or not. She said, yes, queen.
Yes, I see.
Only one exclamation point for all that? I would expect at least 3.
Right?
But you've done some amazing work, and you look fantastic in every picture that I've seen. Like I can't understand why anybody would have wanted to not work with you. Like, oh, you're not ideal. It's like,
I was young. I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, but still, like, I don't know. I don't understand,
I didn't either. And to this day, I still it boggles my mind.
Asha says there needs to be more representation in the fashion world, especially runway.
Absolutely.
I'm not reading these for you now that I know you can see them, because I'm also recording this like we were talking about. And for folks who don't catch the live stream or don't see it on YouTube, we're going to put it up on Shark Bites so they can hear it, because I really want everyone to, get as much exposure of you as we can.
Absolutely.
Because, advocacy is a huge issue, because there are so many underrepresented groups, and so many times, like there was an uprising with, every time, like Scarlett Johansson getting cast in Ghost in the Machine, and then to play a Japanese character.
Right? Where did that come from?
I mean, to be fair, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here. She did look a lot like the anime character, but
yeah,
should have been a Japanese person, like everybody else was Japanese, pretty much. And then what's her name? I like her, but Emma Stone in, like, what was it, Aloha or something? She was supposed to be Hawaiian, like a Hawaiian native.
Yeah.
It's like,
I was like, where did that come from?
No, I mean, I get it. And I think the most recent one was that Bryan Cranston Kevin Hart movie where he played a quadriplegic. I forget what it was called, like Stand By Me or Stand With Me or something
like that.
Yeah. And folks are like, well, why couldn't you get... Although I would say that if Christopher Reeve had still been alive, he probably would have gotten that role.
Like, absolutely.
For it.
And, oh, yeah, they would have offered it to him in a heartbeat. I mean, he probably would have turned it down, but...
I mean, they probably would have made the movie about him at this point.
Right.
As they haven't. But certain ones I can understand. Eddie Redmayne playing Stephen Hawking, I get that. Like, it's difficult to, in this specific situation, getting someone with that advanced ALS, especially where, like, he had to, like, get up at one point, like he's having like a fantasy. If you haven't seen The Theory of Everything, it's fantastic. But
oh yeah, his fantasy sequence
where he gets up and picks the pen up off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I get it. We have a few questions before we go. Was there a gig? This is from Skipper Bob's Breakdown. My good buddy Bob over at right now they're the Wear Your Mask Guild, but Cretin's Guild podcast. Check out Skipper Bob's Breakdowns. He does some awesome stuff touring Disney and Epcot, and it's fantastic. So he says, was there a gig that you took that you were apprehensive about, but it turned out better than you thought?
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate on that, or
no?
That's perfectly fine. So, again, we want you to be comfortable. We want everybody to be respectful. So if you don't want to get into anything, you don't have to. So
yeah, I definitely, I don't like the possibility of putting my photographers or my, co-crew down.
Okay. And I don't want you to. I just want to talk. We're very positive on this show.
Right.
The fact that I get angry about a lot of things, we're very positive. Dave says, because she isn't full of pity, but people expect that, stereotypes. Anthony T says, if you could work for any horror director out there, who would it be and why? And you can't pick Spencer.
As much as I adore Spencer,
I mean, you're already working with him. That's, you can't pick him. You have to pick someone you haven't worked with.
Tom Savini.
Okay. Yeah, he definitely knows his way around some practical effects and blood.
Right.
What's your favorite?
I would let that man kill me off. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. because it would be very creative. What's your favorite Savini performance?
Oh, I don't have one. I can't choose one.
I don't know where it is. It's around here somewhere, but I have the autographed picture of him with the cock and balls gun from Dusk Till Dawn. I've got that.
Nice.
Sitting there like this, looking over, and the guns popped up. I was like, "Yep." I'm like, I have to. This is the one I need to get signed. It's somewhere around. I might have packed it up because there's. You saw earlier how much stuff I have in this room, and that's about a third of it.
Yeah. All right. I'm not going to go away, but I am going to grab a drink.
Oh, please do. So I'll keep going while you're doing that.
All right.
Take your time. So for those of you who are just joining us, we are joined by disability advocate, model, actor, Jessica Snyder. Jess is going to be in the upcoming Axe to Grind, sequel to Axe to Grind. And she just mentioned that her favorite, the one director she'd like to work with is Tom Savini. But my question is, what do you got? You got like an iced coffee or something there?
Yes, I do.
All right, the next thing I was gonna guess, it looks like you might be drinking blood as well. I don't know how prepared you were gonna be for this.
No liquid courage.
No. Ashes needs to know what lip color you're wearing.
I know that it's an elf cosmetic shade, but I'm not. I can't think of the name of it.
You just shoot me a message later when you.
I'll let her know.
Yeah,
we're friends.
Yeah, so it's all that matters. So yeah, let's. We talked about the advocacy. We talked about the modeling. We talked a little bit about Halloween, but you are also a comic nerd, and we talked a little bit about that in the interview a couple weeks ago with just everybody, which was actually, I say a couple weeks ago, it was last week. Oh my god, this has been a long year. Ash has a question. Do you have a favorite cosmetics line?
Elf.
And do you put that on a shelf?
No
elf on a shelf.
No elf on a shelf. I would burn it.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about some comics, because last time when we first started talking to you, you were wearing a Guardians of the Galaxy shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And were you drawn to Guardians of the Galaxy because dark comedy horror director James Gunn was attached to that, or were you just
the
characters or the actors?
Chris Pratt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. He's adorable. Not gonna lie. I'm one of those Chris girls that likes all of the Chris's.
Were you familiar at all with the Guardians of the Galaxy prior to seeing that? Ash also says Elf is pretty great and super affordable.
I knew that the comic existed, but no, I haven't read them.
I was aware of them myself only because I used to collect all the Marvel trading cards, and I think it was Series 3. Yeah, Series 3, and there was like the Guardians of the Galaxy, but they were like not these guys. They were like other characters, like completely other characters. I had no clue who any of these guys were. Like, but to me, that just kind of showed how powerful Marvel is.
Right.
These super obscure characters from the 70s? No. Yeah, well, they're going to make $1 billion now. Which is essentially what happens.
And the fact that they took Groot and like did a whole 180.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's this cute little guy, and in the comics, he was completely badass.
Mm-hmm. The thing The only character I knew Drax and I knew Gamora, and I knew them from the Infinity Gauntlet, which is like my favorite storyline of all time. And Drax was this huge green dude that kind of looked like the Hulk, but with like a cape. And I remember at the end of that, they split up the Infinity Gauntlet, and Adam Warlock and it was Adam Warlock, Pip the Troll, Gamora, Thanos actually got one of the stones back, or they were Infinity Gems at the time. Moondragon, I think, was like Thanos' daughter or something. I don't know. And then I forget who the last one was, but they split up all the gems, and Drax took his, like it was on his forehead, and he thought it was a jelly bean, and he ate it.
Wow.
He had the intelligence of a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he was so dumb. And like Gamora was still super badass Gamora.
And he's even dumb in the actual the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
I would call him, he's literal. Like, he has no, like like, it's like, sorry, that just went over your head. It's like, nothing would go over my head. I am too fast. Like why would I put my finger on his neck? Like, he was so literal. Like, he's not used to like the type of idioms and personality that, like, obviously, we saw with Peter Quill.
Right.
Like, he was literally like, he took an infinity gem off his forehead and thought it was a jelly bean and ate it. Like, he had the intelligence of like a 6-year-old. Like, he had no clue. Like,
right. And that's what makes him lovable, though.
Yeah, he's fun. Dave Bautista is an underrated actor.
He is so good.
I really liked him in Blade Runner 2049, like the small part that he had at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the least believable thing about that is that Ryan Gosling could beat him in a fight.
Agreed.
And if you haven't seen Hotel Artemis, holy shit, he is good in that.
I have not seen that one yet.
Oh. So this is one of those, like, it kind of flew under the radar.
Uh-huh.
And it's got Jodie Foster and Sterling K. Brown and Charlie Day and Jenny Slate is in it for a little bit. Zachary Quinto, Jeff Goldblum, and Sophia Boutella. Like, that's the principal.
It has Jeff Goldblum in it. I really need to see it.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. And there's a couple more other people that if you saw him, you'd recognize him. You're like, oh yeah, that guy from the thing that he was in. Sterling K. Brown's brother that's in it is the guy he was in Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. He was the orderly that he stole if you've seen Joker, he steals a file from him, runs down the hallway. Like, that's the same guy.
Nice.
Dave says, actually, as a horror fan, Jessica's acting is as close to real as I've ever seen in person. Are there any surprises in your future besides the movie?
No. All I'm waiting on right now are the books to release. They are being written and published and stuff as we speak. So there's just going to be a lot of things coming out one after the other, eventually.
All right. And Asha says it helps that Guardians has a fantastic soundtrack too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The best part about that, and you get to see it in Endgame, is like we see, we have the music with Star-Lord singing, but like we get to see like the outs, like as observers, like with War Machine and Nebula sitting there watching him dance around and sing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is one of the funnier moments, like one of the funnier callbacks that they have in all of that Infinity Saga.
Absolutely.
So of the Marvel films, like what are your favorites? And like as you watch them, like did you watch them as they came out, or were you like, I'm not familiar with this character, or were you like, oh my god, I can't wait to see this movie?
I was more interested in the Guardians and Spider-Man before Tom Holland. I'm not going to hate on Tom Holland. He is adorable. But I was a
Andrew Garfield?
no.
Tobey
Maguire fan, yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure how far back you were going, if you were like right before Tom Holland or like way before Tom Holland. I think he was good. Like, he was a good.
The other guy was
Andrew Garfield.
That was just bad.
See, the thing with Spider-Man, it's the same thing I think with Batman. And if anybody in the comments, has a thought on this, I'd love to hear your thoughts too. Because you're not just playing one guy. Like with Iron Man, I am Iron Man. You're Tony Stark. He's going to act the exact same way no matter what.
Right.
Steve Rogers, he's going to act the same way no matter what. But with Batman and Spider-Man, you have these two, especially with Batman, these two contradictory personalities.
Right.
So you
have to be a completely different person.
Right. Like, you could be a good Batman, but a terrible Bruce Wayne, and you could be a good Bruce Wayne, but a terrible Batman.
Right.
Like, Clooney was a good Bruce Wayne. Like, he could play Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much Batman. Like, the Bat credit card, like, really? Like, the Bat card? Okay, Ashes says, which Marvel character do you feel deserves to be more love, and which hero or villain in the Marvel universe would you like to portray? Now, I don't know if she means which character, like, in the movies, or just which character in general. So if you want to take a moment to think about that, I'm going to answer that myself. The character I think deserves more love.
I think Ant-Man is underrated.
I have issues with Ant-Man. It's not the character. It's not the films, although I would have loved to see what Edgar Wright could do with that first film. I love Paul Rudd. My problem is, and this goes for any movie ever, I have no problem suspending my disbelief. I'm fine with believing that there's an island full of genetically engineered dinosaurs. I'm fine with believing that if you get bitten by a spider, you can swing around the world. Like that, it's fine. I'm totally cool with all of that. My problem is when these are the rules, except when they're not. Like,
physics rules.
Yes. So the biggest thing for me is, okay, yeah, so we're going to shrink you down, but you're still going to have your same mass. So you're going to be, a quarter of an inch tall, but you can still pack a punch of a 220-pound man. Well, if he still has all that same mass, how does he run on the barrel of a gun? If he still has all that mass, how does he do half the things that he does?
Right.
How do you carry a 60-ton tank in your pocket if it keeps the same mass? Like, that's the thing to me that drives me insane. Like, when they're bringing the building around in the second one, like, did all the plumbing come loose? Is there flooding everywhere? What happened to all the desks and the file cabinets? Do they stay in place? Like, how does all that work? What about the electric grid? How does that work?
Why did the electric go?
Why was there not this huge power surge when everything that was connected to this suddenly stopped? Why were there not geysers shooting up with all the pipes that disconnected from this huge building? Like, how does that happen?
Practicality.
And here's my biggest thing, my biggest issue. Like, let's just say, okay, because it shrank, it's got the same mass, but it's different, whatever. They said the technology shrinks the space between your atoms, right? Shrinks the space between your atoms. So, as an example, I have a Lego shark. If I were to take all of these pieces apart and put them in a small pile, with separating no space, you know, like if I put them all in a pile and there's no air between them, I'm still going to have this many bricks and it's still going to be this mass. So better example, I have a square house made of bricks, and I take all those bricks and instead of having them spread out, I put them all into a pile. It's much smaller, right? But those bricks, I can't get that any smaller than that. So how do you shrink subatomic when it's like, oh, we took all the space away out of the atoms and we shrunk you down?
Well, when in between atoms, there's no space to begin with.
Once you take all that space away, how do you get smaller than that? You can't. Are you then shrinking the atoms?
There's fusion.
Right. Are you then shrinking the atoms? Because that's not what you said. You know, and if you don't age in the quantum realm, why did Michelle Pfeiffer get older? Like, don't set up a rule and then completely blow by it and completely ignore it. That's my only issue. That and prequels, like, say, Solo, where it's like, oh, he's in a situation. Oh, he might die. Oh, I wonder if he's going to die in this situation. It's like, no, he's in 40 years worth of movies after this. I already know how he dies.
Like, we all know.
We know how he dies, and it's not here. Like, this is 30 years before he meets Luke Skywalker. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be all right, and he'll get out of it. Like, that I don't like.
Yeah, I agree.
So
it's one of those maddening things.
It's like, I get it's for narrative purposes, but like there are so many better ways to tell a story. Like, have you seen Knives Out?
Yes, I actually just watched it this past week.
Okay. So at the end of that, Ash and I saw it in the theater because we're like, oh, this looks so cool. It was filmed in Massachusetts. Like, we recognize some of the landmarks and things. Like, it's like, oh, that's so cool. There's so many great actors in this. And then at the end, we written and directed by Rian Johnston. And the first thing that popped into my head was the thing that popped into my head when I saw Hayden Christensen in the movie Life is a House. Why couldn't you do that for Star Wars? I don't know if you have feelings on Episode 8. And I know you said you're more of a Star Trek person than a Star Wars person.
A little bit.
But that was one of the most maddening things I've ever seen in my life. I remember walking out of that movie with Ash, and I looked at her, and I'm like, I don't think I liked that. Like, it was the weirdest. I was like, I don't think I liked that movie. And it was a weird feeling to me because when I saw Force Awakens, like, I cried several times. Like, I was so happy and then like so devastated later on. But I watched it, I was like, you know what? I have to see it again. So I ended up going with a couple of my friends that weekend, and I watched it again, and I was like, don't like it.
Still can't. Just can't.
I did a big, at the end of last year, I did like 8 or 9 weeks in a row of different Star Wars shows. Like, we talked Mandalorian, we did the original trilogy, we did everything. And I rewatched everything and still didn't like it. I couldn't. I tried. There were a couple of parts, like, I tried to be as positive as possible, but I don't know. So, speaking of movies like that, what's a movie that you were really hyped up to see that when you went to see it, you were like, huh.
Mortal Engines?
All right. Did you read the books?
Nope.
Or were you just like, oh, this looks super cool?
And then it kind of just, meh. Yeah.
I watched that earlier this year, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my exact reaction. I was like, okay, sure.
Ash wants to know who your favorite Star Trek character is.
Who my favorite Star Trek character is? Picard.
Picard. Yeah, you said that he was your favorite captain, I believe.
Yes.
I don't know.
Picard and Data. If you don't love Data, oh, I can't.
Brent Spiner. Yeah.
And of course, Spock.
Oh yeah. What did you think of Zachary Quinto Spock? No?
No.
See, I like Zachary Quinto, like, because I really enjoyed him in Heroes.
The only thing I appreciated of that was that Leonard Nimoy actually showed up as old Spock.
That, yeah, I like that. I've seen all three of them. So I've seen all three of the new ones. I've seen, I think, the first 6 with the original cast. I think up to Undiscovered Country. Yeah, I really liked Benedict Cumberbatch Khan.
Yes.
Like, he was super awesome. I wasn't a huge fan of Peter Weller as the bad guy, but like he's a good bad guy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's shift gears a little bit because we're talking sci-fi nerd stuff. What is your favorite sci-fi space vehicle?
Oh.
You can do a couple if you want. Like if it's hard to choose, you're like, oh, I like this one from this franchise and this one from this franchise.
I don't really know of any sci-fi vehicles besides Kit.
No, I'm talking like, the Enterprise, like for me, I really like the Klingon birds of prey. Like I think they look super cool. Kit is a good one.
The fish-looking ship in Atlantis?
Okay. I don't know the name of it, but yeah, like that's kind of cool looking.
The animated one?
Yeah, with Michael J. Fox.
Yes.
And Cree Summer, who I only remember her name because we were talking about it the other day. She played Kida, and she is also going to be in the new He-Man series.
Nice.
I don't know if you remember He-Man. I think that was a little bit after your time because you're a bit younger than I am, and He-Man kind of petered out when I was still fairly young. Oh, no, I totally. Oh, all right. I know the thought I was going to ask. Do you have a favorite Disney princess?
I do.
Who is your favorite Disney princess?
Belle. I have to go with Belle.
All right.
Although, if we're going to talk more modern princess, it will have to be Moana.
Okay. All right. Moana is definitely more of a take charge. She's in the same vein as Belle. But I do recall getting into a massive argument with people about the original Beauty and the Beast. And everyone told me I was insane and argued and fought with me. And then everything that I brought up, they changed in the live action version.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you who can't see because you're listening to the podcast, I just did the air bunnies. First of all, Belle walks around talking shit about everybody. Like, oh, I'm so much better than everyone here. I should have so much more. I should have everything that I want because I read and all of you are peasants. Oh, Belle, what do you contribute? Well, I read. Awesome. We're an agrarian society, so a lot of us like bake bread, we farm. What do you do? Well, I've read this same book 22 times. Right, but what do you do? Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm also ravishing. Like, that was her contribution. And it's like, yes, you're maybe...
My dad's an inventor, so that's good enough.
Yeah, Like everyone else, she's like, oh, look at this asshole carrying his bread just like every other day. It's like, oh, what do you eat? Oh, bread? So maybe don't talk shit about the baker.
Right.
And here's the biggest
plot. A song where she literally sings talking shit.
Yeah, she's just like, it's the I'm better than everyone else song. Like, then you have, like, first of all, in any other movie, Gaston is the hero. In any other movie, Gaston is the hero. Tell me he's any different from Flynn Rider in Rapunzel. He's not. Like,
no.
This big egotistical jerk. But then here's the biggest thing that nobody ever thinks about. The first, why was the prince cursed? What was his deal?
Because he was a jerk.
Why was he a jerk?
He was a jerk because he turned away this little old lady who happened to just be a magical witch princess person.
How old was he when this happened?
I don't know. I think he was like 16.
He was 10. He was 10 years old. Or he was 10, 11. And because if you remember, he has to fall in love before the last rose petal fall. He has 10 years, which means before his 21st birthday. And he had been cursed for 10 years because the candlestick there, Lumiere, says that for 10 years we've been rusting, needing so much more than dusting, which means this dude is 20 years old. He's been cursed for 10 years. So a 10-year-old wouldn't let a weird, creepy stranger into their house.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we learned anything from Snow White, we should not let creepy old women into our house. So Disney says, you didn't let some weird lady into your house? First of all, why the hell is the prince answering the door? The prince. When does the prince answer the door? There's 10,000 different animated, enchanted creatures in his house now.
There has to be a door guy.
Right.
Turns into a door.
Right. Why is he opening the door in the first place? Like, that's a little weird. And,
I mean, the castle stylist turns into a wardrobe.
Right. Like the Lumiere and Cogsworth, like, wouldn't those be the guys that would be opening the door and like introducing visitors in the throne room to probably the queen and king? But because it's a Disney movie, his parents are probably dead.
Probably.
Like, there's so many plot holes with this. And now you have to fall in love with someone. You haven't been able to, your life has not encompassed the intricacies of peer bonding because you are this massive hulking gorilla wolf lion thing, and all of your friends are tea kettles and candlesticks and clocks. And now you're supposed to form a lifelong bond with the first human you've ever seen in a decade?
Yeah.
There's the logic. Had to go through puberty. He had to go through like all this stuff with no parents, nobody to teach him anything. It's like, how is a candlestick going to teach you about puberty and your changing body?
Right.
Like, oh, you're going to notice more hair. It's like, I'm a giant fucking monster. I have hair everywhere. Like, there's so much of that that's just. So Ash wants to know, who is your favorite Disney villain?
Oh.
Yeah, this is a tough one too, especially for horror people.
My favorite Disney villain.
Yeah, Ash likes to ask that question because it always
probably Kaa from The Jungle Book.
Oh yes. Every time I see him, though, all I think of is Robin Hood because he looks like Ferhis. It's like the same dude. Like Baloo is.
And he's an underrated villain.
He is, especially where they got Oh, Scarlett Johansson coming up again to play a snake. Yeah, Ka's a good one. Yeah, I don't think anyone has picked that yet. So we were talking about Disney princess a little bit. Do you know what the criteria is for someone to be a Disney princess? Because Disney has very specific rules for that.
Oh gosh, I've watched this. You have to know how to dance.
That wasn't one of them.
You have to be within like a 4-inch different or 4-inch height range to
No, I mean like how their characters, like what make, like why Princess Leia is not considered a Disney princess. Nala is not a Disney princess.
Oh no, I have no idea.
All right, so yeah, I think you were thinking like
I was thinking of the how to become a Disney princess through Disney.
Like at the park or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I should have been a little more clear on my question. So there's, I think, 4 criteria. First one is you have to be human, so Nala's out. You have to have made your first appearance in an animated film that went to theaters, so Princess Leia is out. Any of these sequels, so Little Mermaid's daughter, despite the fact that she is a queen, her daughter is not a princess. Figure that one out.
Right.
Your movie has to be a box office success. So that takes Kita from Atlantis out. And finally, you have to either literally, be royalty, be royalty, marry into royalty. So being royalty like Sleeping Beauty and Snow White, marry into royalty like Cinderella, or perform an act of heroism so great that you have that title, like even though you aren't specifically a princess, like maybe your society doesn't have it. Hence Mulan is a Disney princess.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
And Mulan has both of her parents, so figure that one.
Which is crazy. Like that's so rare. And yeah, Ash says the Disney parks are really strict about the princess policy. Like you were getting into, like you have to dance, you have to be like a certain height, like you have to have a specific look. Like it makes sense because you can't break that immersion,
right?
Because like you have to make these kids think that this is real. Like, I mean, I suppose like at least they better pay well. Like they have the money.
Mm-hmm.
So we've covered.
But you for college too.
Oh, that I didn't know. That I was. I mean,
there is an actual Disney college program.
Oh, okay. So they'll put you through their college, not like the GI Bill.
No. You can be in college but work through Disney, and it helps.
Oh, okay. All right. I get you now. All right.
Like there's a specific thing for college age kids. So like 18 to 24 or whatever.
I thought you meant like, all right, we're hiring you to play Mulan. Now we're going to send you through like Disney college to learn everything about this character and, like an extended training thing. But I get what you're saying.
Right. They have that, but they also have like, it's basically, I guess it's kind of sort of like an internship program.
Okay.
Where you get like internship credits, like, and they will basically put you through college. Like it's not even Disney college, even though there is a Disney college. But that's for engineering and business and But you could be a college age student, work at Disney, and that helps get you credits and things.
That's cool. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Have you been to Disney?
No.
I haven't either. The plan was to go this year, but we wanted to go for Halloween.
Verona.
Yep. Yeah. We wanted to go for Halloween because Ash is going to be 35 in October. We were going to go right around her birthday, and it's going to be shortly before my 40th birthday, and looks like we're going next year.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
All I want to do is build a lightsaber, and I already told her, you're going to see a 40-year-old man crying like a 5-year-old boy when I build my lightsaber, and I don't care.
There is no cares.
Little. There's not even like the smallest amount of me, amount of who I am, and I'm like, you can live stream that shit. I don't care. I
get to build a lightsaber.
I'm going to build an orange lightsaber. And I'm going to build the elemental nature one with the Rancor tooth at the bottom. That's what I'm doing. It's going to be orange, and then we're going to go into the other store. I think it's called Doc Ondar's, and we're going to buy a whole bunch of other lightsaber crystals. I'm going to get a white one. That's what we're doing. That's just, and we're going to go to Universal, and I'm going to go to Springfield and do all the Simpson stuff. We're going to do all the Harry Potter stuff. But yeah, that's what we're doing. So we've been going for about an hour and a half. Do you have anything else that you wanted to cover that we didn't cover? I know we have still the Kickstarter for Axe 2 Grind is up.
That is still going. I believe there is 20-something days left of that.
Yep, which is good. 8 again. I'm going to pick up another perk. Ash and I picked up a perk today. We picked up
nice
bundle, which is signed poster, signed blue special edition Blu-ray, all the previous perks. So, a thank you in the film, the digital download, like all kinds of stuff. So I'm super pumped about. So one of these is going to have to come down, so I can have my awesome Axe 2 Grind poster signed by all you guys. And
absolutely.
I just want to say, first of all, I'm very happy that you've already exceeded the goal. Like that's already happened, which is
oh my gosh, like I am floored about that. Oh, it's great.
Our buddy Brandon, Powerful Brandon, picked up a perk. He is an executive producer, or a regular producer. I forget which one, because there's one that's like 2,500 and there's another that's like 300. I don't think you got the 2,500 one, but yeah, this is going to be an awesome project, and I can't wait for it. But yeah, I'll put links. Like I keep sharing it everywhere. You're going to be in this. This is your first film acting job.
Yes.
Because obviously, working in a haunt, does require some acting skill. You can't just be some lunkhead.
Right.
You have to have nuance to your character, especially if you want to be memorable, and like you can't just jump out with a chainsaw going, rah, like there has to be some nuance to your performance. So
right, that's not going to bring the customers back.
And I would imagine, like, somebody goes through it, like, how was it? Like, oh, it's awful. Don't even waste your money. But like, if you have people that know what they're doing.
Hey, we've been in business for over 30 years.
Yeah, so you guys know what you're doing. So I would imagine you're taking a lot of your skills and your experience here, and you're going to bring that to Axe 2 Grind.
Absolutely. I am definitely the screaming, the retching, all of it. It's going to be great.
See, I didn't even think about like the retching. I was thinking more like, like, and I
put a man to his knees just by laughing at him.
That's awesome. Like I'm sure there was, some makeup or prosthetics involved as well. I'm sure that didn't.
Actually, the only thing I had was food coloring. I was drooling food coloring and I was laughing hysterically. Okay.
That's awesome. That's cool. Ash says Axe 2 Grind is going to be amazing, and I can't wait to see you on screen.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be epic.
I hope you get to kill somebody.
I hope I die. Well, I want to die.
Why can't you do both?
Well, yeah, I could Yeah, I could definitely do both, but I really want to die. I want them to kill me, like so bad.
Have you seen RoboCop 3?
No.
All right, so there's spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen RoboCop 3. It's been out 25, almost 30 years. So there's two bad samurai robots, and they both swing their swords at the same time and cut each other's heads off. And like that's how they like. You could do something like that, like someone swings an axe at you and you swing an axe at them, like you get them in the ribs, like center mass, and like they bury the axe in the side of your face.
In the side of my face.
Yeah, like you could do something like that where it's like, oh, I got you just as good as you got me, and like,
yeah,
like that obviously is something that you're looking forward to. Like, is there a, obviously you want to go in a gruesome, bloody fashion, I'm sure.
Absolutely. The gorier, the better. So yeah, if the director or the producer or anybody on the crew is watching, kill me, please. Just kill me.
There is, I'm sure, going to be a multitude of answers for this one. So I'm going to give you a top 5 of your favorite kills in horror movies. Like, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a specifically memorable one, but it could just be like something that like really stuck out to you. Like, oh my God, like this scene was so cool and I loved the effects, So give me your top 5.
Terrifier, sawing the girl upside down in half.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Texas Chainsaw, the guy in the wheelchair.
Franklin, good. Oh, fuck him. He was so annoying.
Getting hacked in half.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of my inspiration.
And it's one of the best jump scares too. It's like, hey, do you hear something? Yes. Oh.
So good. Okay. The leech girl from Puppet Master.
Yes. Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
The spit acid from The Fly.
Okay. Yep. Oh, that was Cronenberg.
And probably my number 5 was Chucky when he virtually exploded.
Okay. That's a good one. Have you seen the Victor Crowley franchise?
I don't think so.
Oh. So it's Kane Hodder as the titular character. And there's 4 of them. So there's Hatchet, Hatchet 2, Hatchet 3, and then Victor Crowley. You could make a top 10 list just from that. There's one kill, and his name escapes me. Ash, if you could look this up, you know which one I'm talking about. He like sort of curb stomps a guy, but like puts his face at the edge of a table and like kicks the back of his head, and like just the top of his head just slides across the table from like his jaw up.
Oh, yes.
He grabs a woman and just tears her head open. And like you see her tongue flapping around after he pulls her head open. R.A. Mihailoff, that's who it is, who is in one of the Texas Chainsaw films, I believe. He played Leatherface in one of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one where you get these 2 guys are like, do you hear something? Like, I don't know, I think so. And like you see this chainsaw, and he's got this fucking chainsaw that's like 8 feet long. Like you just see the chainsaw coming out. It's like the beginning of Spaceballs. It just keeps going and going and going. And he gets 2 guys right between the legs. He lifts them up off the ground, and they just slowly slide down as he saws through them. It's amazing.
Oh, The guy getting cut in half in 13 Ghosts.
Yeah, the right. Oh, as the door closes, like
It's the glass door.
That's a great one.
That is a perfect gore.
Oh yeah, like
in my eyes, like you see the brain, you see half of the organs, the whole nine. Like anatomically, it is there, and it's prime.
It brings me to have you watched the Hannibal TV show?
No.
There is a scene where somebody gets killed like that, but they're on like 30 slides. Like they're sliced and put into slides, and they're hanging up like glass slides. And like when you see them the first time, like you're like, oh, she's just kind of standing there. And then like the camera moves slightly, and you just see like this whole row of them.
There's in The Cell, the movie The Cell. I can't remember if it's a cow or if it's a horse.
It's some animal like that. Yeah.
It's one of those large animals. It's either a cow or a horse, and yeah, it's the same thing where it's cut into slides, but it's still like mooing or whatever.
Oh, this lady was not mooing. She was very dead, but it was the effect for a primetime TV show. Like this was a great, like, I highly recommend watching that show. It's fucking amazing. Mads Mikkelsen as Hannibal is beyond awesome.
I'll have to check it out.
There is another kill in Victor Crowley where he kills Felissa Rose. And if you hear about it, it's one of her favorite kills, that she's like her favorite on-screen deaths. He takes her cell phone and inserts it in her, but like his whole arm comes up through her mouth. It's fantastic. It's one of like the best kills I've ever seen.
That's great. That is so good.
Watch those 4 movies. I'm telling you, you'll be like, holy shit, how have I not seen this?
Another epic death that I want to add to my list. Paris Hilton, House of Wax.
Yeah, that was a good one. I think that was the one that people were looking forward to the most, because it was like, I hate Paris Hilton, and
and then she just gets impaled through the eye.
That was a good one. Yeah, good effects on that too. I like that. Like, has there ever been The Collector and The Collection? Like, there's a ton of good ones in there.
Yes.
Although I think the cringiest, most difficult to watch part is when the guy re-breaks his arm so he has the flexibility to unlock the door. Now my arm hurts. Yeah. Like, you see all these deaths, like the giant scythe, like all the blades that come down and just shred through everyone at the beginning. And like, this is the worst.
It physically makes you hurt. Or I believe it was mentioned last week. The saw mechanism with the guy where his head and his limbs were in it, and then they rotated.
Yeah, the rack.
The rack, and that just makes everything hurt.
And I have bad knees to begin with, so just like watching that, just like, yeah, no. Like there are, like, I'm fine, like, somebody exploding on screen, or something like that, like whatever,
that's quick, that's different.
Like watching someone have to like re-break an arm, or like you see bones sticking out of things and you have to push them back in, and no
the cringe.
Ash, it's anything with the eye, and we just watched Zombie. She had never seen it before. You've seen that one, Lucio Fulci's Zombie?
Yeah.
With the door, the piece of the door that goes right into the girl's eye.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, she hates anything with the eyes, but it's like, you have to respect, and actually on some show, like it was like Bravo put it on. They were talking about like all these, horror moments. And Tom Savini actually brought that one up. And he said that was one of his favorites because so many times they'll cut away and just show you like what happened after. But like to watch the thing literally go into her eye and then snap off, like, savage. So, yeah, we could probably go on and on about kills for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a shooting schedule for X to grind yet?
I do not have anything yet. I'm
I
waiting for all of that to come in and more details and things. So
I imagine there's also like you guys are going to be shooting in Oklahoma, and there's, it's not the most COVID friendly. Well, depending on your definition of COVID friendly, it's either very COVID friendly. Or, I mean, if it's friendly for the virus, it's not so friendly if you want to avoid it.
Right.
So I guess that's going to determine, when your shooting actually happens. But hopefully it happens soon, or sooner rather than later. Like,
yeah, like we're looking at a tentative shoot schedule. Like we have a time that we would like to get it done.
Yeah, and you don't have to reveal any of that stuff. Like,
But yeah, things could definitely change. It's all gonna depend on COVID.
Yeah, which is a bit frustrating, but it's, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, I guess.
Right.
So before we go, because now we're creeping up on about an hour 45, and this has been awesome. Like, I didn't even realize that it's almost 11 o'clock because I've been having a really good time chatting with you. Is there anything else you'd like to cover? Anything else that you want to talk about? It doesn't have to be anything specific to you. You're like, oh, I really want to talk about this movie I saw the other day. Like, do you have any movie recommendations or book recommendations?
I really just kind of want to shout out my haunt.
Do it.
Haunted Hydro, Fremont, Ohio, 1333 Tiffin Street. We will be opening at the end of September this year. Hopefully, with COVID and everything going on, we're looking at it. So come see me.
Are there do you guys have a plan for, if there's going to be like social distance requirements? Like,
oh yeah, we're looking at timed ticketing. We're looking at social distancing. We're looking at possibly minimizing our crew a little bit to help with that. So we're also looking at doing just our outdoor haunt, so there are less restrictions because it is out in the open and you're not confined to a space where everybody's touching everything and it has to be sanitized. And
yeah, I imagine that would be really difficult and probably like affect some of the I don't want to say decorations, that's not the word I'm using, but for lack of a better term at this moment,
props.
Yeah, like not just the props, but like all the ambiance, like all the fake blood and like the paint and like just, I'm blanking on the term that I want to use, but it's probably decorations is a little bit down the street from the word that I want to use. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all the just the way that everything is put together and the atmosphere. I'll think of the word like in 45 minutes when it doesn't matter anymore. All right. So yeah, definitely if you are in the Ohio area, where is Fremont close to like Cincinnati or Cleveland or?
Fremont is in Northeast Ohio. It's actually closer to Sandusky, which is where we have Cedar Point.
Okay. I'm not overly familiar with like I have some friends that live out there, but they live in I believe Garfield Heights, which is
Right.
Bill Watterson is from, where they did Calvin and Hobbes. Like, my buddy sent me a picture of the area where it's drawn on the back of one of the Calvin and Hobbes books. He's like, yeah, that's this area, and he took a picture and sent it to me. He's like, yeah, that's like down the street from where I live. It's like, oh, that's so fucking cool.
That's great.
So yeah, I want to thank you for joining me. Like, this was a lot of fun. Like, and you are welcome to come on, and we'll do this any other time, because like,
absolutely,
I love talking like nerdy and horror stuff. Like, and I just want, for anybody who's watching or listening, you brought up Terrifier. Have you seen the trailer for Terrifier 2 yet?
I have. I am so excited.
If you have any questions for either Damian Leone or David Howard Thornton, get them to me before Sunday at 2:00, because we are interviewing them then. They are coming on the show, and that show will drop next Thursday.
Nice.
So I'm very excited to talk to those gentlemen. And one thing you may not know about David Howard Thornton, he does an amazing... oh my God, I totally just lost his name. He played the incredible Mr. Limpet. He was on... I'm going to have to look this up. Hold on. He was on the Andy Griffith Show. To look it up, because now I'm blanking on his name, and I have to get it right, because
Don Rickles.
It's Don something. It's not Don Rickles. Don Rickles was
no. Don Rickles is the other.
Don Knotts, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Let me. Incredible. I believe that's what it is. I can't get it. So yeah, Don Knotts. He does a great impression of him, and it's amazing. And like, he does it like he's talking about Art the Clown. He did it for me at a convention last year. So I was like, I was told you do an amazing Don Knotts. So I'm hoping I can get him.
I want to know which brand of tooth stain they use for Art the Clown.
Text me that so I don't forget it. Because I will ask them that. Like, I will legitimately
because I use a particular kind of tooth stain for my haunting, but I want to know what they've used. And I want to know if it's the same one.
You never know, but we'll ask them. Yeah, because they'll be on. And if you have anything else, folks who are listening and folks who are actually, by the time you hear this, it'll be Tuesday if you're listening on Shark Bite, so you missed your opportunity. But hopefully someone asks that question and it gets answered on Thursday's show. But Jess, thank you so much for hopping on and chatting with me for almost 2 hours.
It's been fun.
I always enjoy chatting with you about nerd and horror stuff. So, like I said, anytime, like, you know, maybe at some point we'll just do this just to do it without recording it and just like talk nerd stuff.
Absolutely. I'm totally down.
So before we go, I know I have it in the show notes, but where do you like folks following you on social media?
They can find me at Jessica Snyder Model on Facebook, or Hot Wheels.modeling official on Instagram.
That's Hot Wheels with 2 T's and a Z.
Yes.
Just so folks are making sure they're following the right one. If you don't want any misconceptions, if someone's like, "Oh, I heard that interview and that girl's awesome," you know,
It took me to the wrong account.
I'm Donatella Versace's friend, and I think she would be perfect. And like, we get the wrong Hot Wheels, and you missed it by that much. So we don't.
Actually, let me look and make sure that I'm telling you the correct one.
I screw mine up too. Like, I have different ones. Oh, Ash has sent me that question, so I would have it.
Hot Wheels _ modeling official. My bad. It's not dot, it's underscore.
Okay, so Hot Wheels underscore. Gotcha. All right, good. And obviously this will be in the show notes. And I'm going to sound like Leo up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to it. But yeah, you'll see everything in the show notes. Again, Jess, thank you so much. It's awesome. And you are awesome. And I think that's about it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Always good talking with you.
Yes.
All right, so we are going to drop off now and broadcast. Oh, let me click the